Hey everybody, so coming to you today with the what's next on Undefeated Unified welterweight champion of the world, Errol Spence Jr. at 147 pounds. He has moved into the top spot at 147 following his dominating 12-round unanimous decision over Danny Garcia on December 5th when they fought in the main event of a Fox pay-per-view card. It was a very nice win for Spence. It was arguably his best one. He completely outboxed and outworked and outclassed a very good Danny Garcia, and always good Danny Garcia. And this was the best division in boxing. And with this win, he claimed the top spot. So, obviously there's a litany of options for him. So let's jump right into it. And the big question is, what's next for Errol Spence Jr., the unified welterweight champion? Excuse me. So, the most realistic ones are the fact that he is on a short list for a Manny Pacquiao fight. That I heard that is a rumor. Pacquiao has expressed some interest, so he's on a short list for that fight. And then he's likely going to have a mandatory due against Shawn Porter in a rematch, which I think is another very likely fight. So, that's possible if the WBC mandates Porter as their number one contender. But we've heard that Porter would like to face Terrence Crawford as well, so because he's number one contender for Crawford's belt as well. So, a lot of moving pieces here. Going to be interesting to see. But let's run through the top 10 and look at some options for Errol Spence in his next fight. We start with, obviously he's number one. We go to number two, undefeated Terrence Crawford. This fight doesn't have any legs, in my opinion, until 2022. Because Crawford is done with his top-ranked contract in October of next year, 2021. And I don't think, even once Crawford becomes a free agent, I don't think it's going to be a rush to get him a fight with Spence by the end of the year. I think they're going to want to promote that fight for early 2022, and they're going to try to get both guys maybe to fight close to around each other, so it kind of builds the fight a little bit more. So I don't think it's possible next, but definitely in the next year and a half. Next at number 3 is the Pac-Man Manny Pacquiao. Well, after Spence's performance against Danny Garcia, Pacquiao came and said that he might be down to fight Errol Spence Jr., that he's interested. So, does that mean they fight next? That's a big question. We don't know, Spence and Porter could be good earlier in the year and let Pacquiao come back and fight Mikey Garcia. And then the winners collide later in the year, I think that would make a lot of sense for Manny, especially being out of the ring a year and a half. But Manny might just say fuck it and want to go after the top dog, which is Spence. It's an easy fight to make, so we just got to wait and see. I think it's possible, but until the fight actually gets signed, I'm going to say not going to happen, but we'll see. Number 4 is a rematch with Shawn Porter. Porter is the number one contender in the WBC, but he's also the number one contender in the WBO, and he says he's willing to fight anybody. I personally believe he wants to stay in-house and fight Porter in a rematch. That's just me. And I think Spence, this is his best option in terms of continuing to prove his dominance, because he's dominated every fighter that he's fought, especially since he became big, except for Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter gave him hell. I think Spence was overlooking him. I think Spence should get a mandatory out of the way next and take him on, take Shawn Porter on, beat him, and leave no doubt. But we'll see. Number, I believe, okay. Next up, number 5 is Yordenis Ugas. Excuse me. I don't see Spence facing Ugas. In terms of name recognition, this is definitely taking a step back. I think Spence wants to fight top-notch fighters, so I don't think he's going to take a step back, especially against a guy with that awkward, confuse you style like Ugas. So I'm not seeing it. Number 7 is a rematch with Danny Garcia. Not going to happen. He just dominated Garcia. It would make no sense. Actually, number 6 was supposed to be Keith one-time Thurman. Thurman's going to talk, he's going to talk, and he's going to talk, trying to say he's interested in the fight, but Thurman at the earliest wouldn't be interested until the second half of 2021 because he hasn't fought since July of last year. He's going to want a tune-up bout. There's no way he comes back after well over a year and a half off and goes after the top guy in the division. If he does, I'll give him props, but I highly doubt it. So I don't see this one next for Spence. It is possible, though. And then number 8 is Mikey Garcia, a rematch with Mikey Garcia. Spence put hands on Mikey. No need for this one. I don't think he even entertains the idea, so I'm going to say no. Number 9 is Sergey Lipinets. You know, if they mandated him the number 1 contender and Spence really wanted to hold on to his world titles, he might fight him. Outside chance, but right now, considering a mandatory contender didn't happen in Lipinets' fight with Clayton, they fought to a draw. I think that kind of leaves Spence wide open to fight somebody else before he's forced into a mandatory fight for the IBF belt. So I'm going to say no to this one. Then we got a 2-way tie for 10th. First up is Josecito Lopez. You know, if Errol Spence cannot get the big name fighters next, which I don't see why he couldn't, because he's a big name fighter himself. He's top 3 pound for pound. Somebody's going to be willing to fight him. But in case they don't, I think Lopez would be a very credible option. You know, he's down in the top 10, but he's a name. He's a former world title challenger. And he's been hot since his fight with Keith Thurman in January of 2019 when he almost knocked Thurman out, lost a close decision. He knocked out John Molina Jr., then he followed that up with another knockout and retirement of Francisco Santana. That was a 9th or 10th round knockout as well. So Lopez has been hot. He's hungry. He's trying to get back in the mix of things. And, I think this wouldn't be a bad option for Errol Spence, but I'm going to lean towards a no, because I don't think he wants to take for Spence, I think this will be viewed as a step back, even though he would probably get a knockout and dominate, but still, Lopez has been hot lately. And then finally is a showdown with Jamal James. Again, another step back fight. He's got a lengthy, tall style, a style that even if Spence wins, he's not going to look good in winning, so I think it'd be a mistake for Spence to take this one. James hasn't really done much to earn it, so I'm not seeing it. So now the most viable options for Spence in terms of what do I think is going to happen is I really think I'm going out on a limb and saying Sean Porter is going to be the guy for Errol Spence next in a rematch, because Porter's the only guy he didn't dominate, as I said before. So I could really see these two guys locking it up. Plus, I think Spence gets rid of one of his mandatories by fighting Porter. So, yeah. Now, the second most viable option would probably be a Manny Pacquiao if the fight can be made, or a Sergey Lipinets, or a Josecito Lopez. So, I'm hoping he doesn't have to take a back step like that to fight Lipinets or Lopez. But you never know, so he's got to keep those options open. And Manny Pacquiao, if Pacquiao wants to fight Spence, he's going to fight Spence. That's just it. It's up to Pacquiao, though. And it's sad Spence, as good as he is not the A-side going into that fight. He's the favorite, but he's not the A-side. And, but Pacquiao earned that, and he's earned that by beating good fighters. So we'll see. But again, I really think it's going to be Sean Porter. So that's it. That's the what's next on top 3 pound for pound and undefeated IBF and WBC champion Errol Spence Jr. All right, guys. Hope you liked it. True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.